Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive. For all our listeners from Deer Park, LaPorte, Pasadena, this one's for you. We're going to be diving into the Pasadena City Council meeting from May 16th, 2023.
And we're not going to be going through every little detail, but we will be focusing in on a couple of interesting moments that give us a little peek behind the curtain of local politics and community concerns.
So think of it as us doing all the boring work for you, sifting through hours of footage, stacks of documents. You can skip right to the heart of what matters in your community.
Exactly.
All right, so let's set the scene. The meeting kicks off with an invocation led by Pastor Bubba Gardner.
Oh, wow.
And a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pretty standard stuff.
Pretty standard stuff.
Councilman Jonathan Estrada steps up to thank his District E constituents for their support in his reelection.
This is interesting because this meeting took place right after an election.
Right.
You can almost feel the energy of change and new beginnings kind of hanging in the air. And these opening rituals, even though they're routine, they actually lay the groundwork for the more dynamic discussions that are about to come.
And speaking of those new beginnings, Councilman Shelby and Simbine take a moment to congratulate the newly elected council members.
Right.
And also remind everyone about the upcoming runoff elections.
Very important.
I think this is a really important point. It's a reminder that participating in local elections isn't just a one-time thing. You know,
Absolutely.
We need to stay engaged even after that big election night.
All right. Staying informed and involved is how we make our voices heard and shape the future of our communities.
Okay, so things take a bit of a turn now.
Yes, they do.
When Councilwoman Katie takes the floor.
Oh, boy.
She has some strong words for a specific resident, and she doesn't shy away from naming names.
This is where it gets juicy.
It does.
Yeah.
So Councilwoman Katie tells this whole story about a resident who she claims went rogue, building a two-story apartment duplex in a single-family neighborhood, falsifying permits, disregarding deed restrictions. She even accuses him of having a me and only me attitude.
What's fascinating here is that it's pretty rare for a council member to publicly call out a resident like this and, raises all sorts of questions of that. What happened behind closed doors that led to this? How could this impact the relationship between the council and the residents?
Right.
Does this discourage people from speaking up in the future?
It definitely makes you wonder
Yeah.
about the dynamics at play.
For sure.
And, whether this kind of public shaming is productive or ultimately harmful.
Exactly. It's a glimpse into the complexities of local governance and, that delicate balance between holding people accountable and maintaining open communication.
Speaking of holding people accountable.
Oh, here you go.
The next speaker, Mr. Stephen Abras, has some serious grievances he wants to air, and he does not hold back.
And this is where we see a real clash of communication styles. The council members generally stick to formal procedures and polite language. Mr. Abras comes in with a raw emotional appeal.
I mean, he starts off talking about the national struggle with dementia and Alzheimer's, which seems a little out of left field.
A little bit.
But then he pivots hard into accusing Councilman Catton of slander, hate, and ignorance.
Oh.
He even compares the council to characters in The Godfather, claiming they're engaged in shady backroom deals and using city resources to target him unjustly.
I mean, while his delivery might be unconventional,
Yeah.
Mr. Abras's testimony really highlights the personal stakes involved in local politics.
Yeah.
You can hear the frustration and anger in his voice, and it makes you wonder if his experience reflects a broader disconnect between residents who feel ignored or even mistreated by those in power.
It's definitely a jarring contrast to the more measured tone of the council members.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have these procedural discussions and carefully worded statements, and then on the other, you have this resident pouring his heart out, accusing the council of acting like mobsters.
That contrast is striking, isn't it? It makes you think about how these different communication styles are received by the council.
Right.
Do they dismiss passionate pleas as being too emotional?
Right.
Or do they see formal complaints as more legitimate? And most importantly, how can we ensure that everyone feels heard and respected, regardless of how they choose to express themselves?
That's such an important question.
It is.
And it really gets to the heart of accessibility and representation in local government.
Right. If only certain types of communication are valued or considered effective, then not everyone has an equal opportunity to participate in shaping their community.
Okay, so after all that drama, the meeting shifts gears and goes back to business as usual.
Business as usual.
We hear about police officer retirements, The reading and approval of various ordinances, discussions about grant applications and resolutions related to upcoming events and initiatives.
It's fascinating how the meeting can swing between those moments of intense personal conflict
Yeah.
and then the more routine aspects of running a city.
Exactly. They're dealing with everything from personal accusations of corruption to making sure there's a no-wake zone for the upcoming Texas Outlaw Challenge boat race.
Wow. Talk about range.
Let's talk about range.
Yeah,
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of the meeting.
we have.
A glimpse into the dynamics of the council, a taste of the personal side of local politics,
Yes.
and a reminder of the vast range of issues that city government deals with on a daily basis.
And we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. There's still plenty more to unpack from this Pasadena City Council meeting.
Lots more. Welcome back to our deep dive into this Pasadena City Council meeting.
Now, before the break, we heard from a resident who was clearly upset with the council.
Yeah, it was a powerful reminder that, city council meetings are public forums where residents can voice their concerns directly to their elected officials. It's a chance for residents to hold their leaders accountable and make their voices heard.
And while not every resident will have such a dramatic story to share, I think it's important to remember that these meetings are opportunities for all of us to engage in local government, even if you don't have a burning issue to bring to the table. Attending these meetings can give you valuable insights into the decision-making process and the challenges facing your community.
Absolutely. Attending these meetings can help you better understand the nuances of how your city operates and where your tax dollars are being spent. You can learn about upcoming projects, proposed ordinances, and the council's priorities for the year.
Okay, so let's move on to a topic that might be a little less emotionally charged, but just as important, ordinances.
Okay.
I have to admit, this is the part of the meeting where I sometimes zone out a little.
I get it. It can seem a bit dry and technical, but ordinances are essentially the nuts and bolts of city governance.
Okay.
They're the rules and regulations that determine everything from building codes to parking restrictions to noise ordinances.
So these ordinances have a real impact on our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. During this meeting, the council tackled several ordinances, and one that really caught my attention was Ordinance 2023-95.
Okay.
This ordinance proposes amending the building code to waive residential and commercial building permit fees for a specific period following a declared local disaster.
That sounds like it could be a huge help to folks who are trying to rebuild after a storm or a flood. We've seen our fair share of those here in Southeast Texas.
Exactly. Waiving those fees could remove a significant financial barrier for people who are already dealing with the stress and expense of disaster recovery. It's a great example of how local government can directly support its residents during challenging times.
So even though these ordinances might seem like technicalities, they can have a real impact on people's lives. It's all about connecting those dots and understanding how these decisions affect us on a personal level.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And speaking of local impact, the council also discussed a resolution requesting approval to apply for funding from the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program. Now, this program provides grants to help law enforcement agencies purchase bulletproof vests for their officers.
That's a critical investment in the safety of our police officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect our community. I know a lot of people have strong opinions about policing, but I think everyone can agree that we want our officers to be safe.
Absolutely. It's a tangible way to show our support for the men and women who work tirelessly to keep our streets safe. And, this program is a great example of how federal and local governments can work together to address important issues.
Okay, so we talked about ordinances and resolutions, but what's the difference between the two?
Okay.
They both seem to involve making decisions about how the city operates.
That's a great question. Ordinances are laws that have a binding effect. Think of them as permanent rules that everyone in the city must follow. Resolutions, on the other hand, are more like expressions of the council's opinion or intent. They don't have the same legal weight as ordinances.
So a resolution is more like a statement of support or a commitment to a particular course of action.
Exactly. For example, the council might pass a resolution supporting a community event or declaring a certain day as a city holiday. These resolutions don't create new laws, but they can send a powerful message and mobilize resources.
I see. So back to the meeting, what other resolutions caught your eye?
Well, one that highlights the importance of community engagement is Resolution 2023-112. This resolution authorizes the Pasadena Parks and Recreation Department to accept a donation from ABC Dental to support the Fourth Vest event.
Fourth Fest is always a blast. It's great to see local businesses stepping up to support community events like this. It really strengthens the fabric of our community.
It's a win-win situation, right? The business gets to show its commitment to the community, and residents get to enjoy a fantastic event. It's a reminder that we can all play a part in creating a vibrant and connected community.
And speaking of events, the council also discussed a no-wake zone resolution for the Texas Outlaw Challenge, a boat race happening in June.
Now, this resolution sparked a bit of debate among council members, which is always interesting to see. Some were concerned about the potential impact on local businesses and residents who live near the racecourse, while others saw it as a great opportunity to showcase Pasadena and boost tourism.
It's interesting to see how the council weighs different perspectives and tries to find solutions that benefit the community as a whole.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to balance those competing interests.
That's the heart of the democratic process, isn't it? These discussions and debates, even when they get heated, are essential for ensuring that all voices are heard and that decisions are made with the best interests of the community in mind.
So they have to consider the needs of boat racers, businesses, residents, and tourists. All at the same time. It's like trying to solve a giant puzzle.
Exactly. And sometimes even with a no-wake zone in place, there's going to be a little turbulence, but that's all part of navigating the complexities of local government. It's about finding that sweet spot where we can support economic growth and tourism while also minimizing any negative impacts on residents.
It sounds like it takes a lot of careful consideration and compromise to get things right.
It certainly does. But when it works well, local government can be a powerful force for positive change in our communities.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the Pasadena City Council meeting. We've seen how local government tackles everything from disaster recovery to public safety to community events, from the mundane to the momentous.
And we've seen how residents can make their voices heard, even if it's through impassioned pleas and accusations.
It's a reminder that local government isn't just about abstract policies and procedures, but about real people and the issues that affect their daily lives. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been unpacking this Pasadena City Council meeting, and I gotta say, it's been pretty eye-opening to see the inner workings of local government.
It really has. We've seen heated moments, heard those heartfelt stories, and gotten a glimpse of the sheer volume of issues that city leaders deal with on a daily basis.
From resident testimonies to funding for bulletproof vests to debates about no-wake zones, it's been a wild ride.
It has, and it really highlights the vast scope of what local government touches. Think about it. In a single evening, the council dealt with police officer retirements, grant applications, building code amendments, and support for community events like the Texas Outlaw Challenge and Fourth Fest.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot to take in, and it really underscores how much local government affects our daily lives, even in ways we might not always realize.
Absolutely. It's easy to take these services and decisions for granted, but they have a direct impact on our quality of life, ensuring public safety, maintaining our parks, supporting economic development. All of these things fall under the umbrella of city government.
So after diving into all of this, what's the big takeaway for us, the residents of Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena?
Well, the biggest takeaway is that we have a voice in all of this. These meetings are our chance to engage with our elected officials, share our concerns, and help shape the decisions that affect our community.
And it's not just about showing up to complain, right? It's about being informed, understanding the issues, and working together to find solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly. It's about thinking and acting locally. We can't just sit back and expect things to magically improve. We need to be active participants in shaping the future of our cities.
And that's exactly what it calls them. The Deep Dive is all about empowering residents to think and act locally.
We hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of how your local government works and the ways you can get involved.
So as we wrap things up, we want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder. How do you think city councils should balance the needs of individual residents with the overall good of the community?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's a conversation we need to have.
We encourage you to share your thoughts and continue the discussion on our Think and Act Locally website. And if you find value in our show and want to support our mission of empowering residents, you can do so at thinkandactlocally.com/donate, link in show notes. Every contribution helps us continue to bring you these deep dives and make a positive impact in our community.
Absolutely.
Until next time, neighbors, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep thinking and acting locally.